A few days before the biggest World Cup in history was set to begin, one of Africa's most respected referees boarded a plane to the United States. His name was Omar Abdulkadir Artan. He wasn't a fan. He wasn't a journalist. He wasn't even a member of a national team. He was an official FIFA referee selected to work at the 2026 World Cup. In 2025, he was named Africa's Referee of the Year. He was about to become the first Somali referee ever to officiate at a FIFA World Cup. But when he landed in Miami, everything changed. Despite being selected by FIFA, despite holding travel documents, and despite preparing for the tournament for months, Artan was denied entry into the United States and sent back. And he wasn't the only one. An Iraqi team photographer was denied entry. Members of national team delegations have reported visa and immigration difficulties. Fans from some countries are now wondering whether they will be able to attend at all. As the 2026 World Cup gets underway, a new question is emerging. Can the world's biggest sporting event truly be global if some of the people trying to attend cannot get into the host country? Imagine spending years saving every spare dollar. You finally secure World Cup tickets, book your flights, reserve your hotel, and count down the days. Then the moment arrives. You land in the United States, exhausted but electric with excitement. But instead of walking through arrivals into the noise and color of tournament fever, you are pulled aside, questioned for hours, and ultimately turned away. No explanation feels sufficient. Your dream evaporates at the border. Every dollar spent, every hour of anticipation, gone in an instant. Could this actually happen to fans traveling to the 2026 FIFA World Cup? It sounds extreme, almost unthinkable for the biggest sporting event on the planet. But here is the thing that should make every traveling supporter pay close attention. For some people connected to this very tournament, it already has. Now, to understand why entry concerns matter so much, you first need to appreciate the sheer scale of what is coming. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is not just another tournament. It is the largest edition of the competition ever staged in the history of the sport. For the first time ever, 48 national teams will compete across 3 countries simultaneously: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Think about what that means for fans worldwide. Millions of supporters from every corner of the globe are preparing to make this journey, booking flights, arranging accommodation, requesting time off work, and saving for years. For many of them, this is not just a football match. It is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and the idea that something could go wrong before they even set foot inside a stadium is deeply unsettling. For millions of supporters around the world, attending a World Cup is not simply watching football. It is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. Fans follow their national teams across continents, sometimes spending years setting aside money, coordinating with family members, and counting down the days. Entire communities gather around the tournament as a shared cultural moment, something that transcends sport and becomes part of a collective identity. For many international supporters, the 2026 World Cup represents something genuinely rare, a chance to witness history unfolding in person, on a stage larger than any before it. When that dream feels threatened, even by uncertainty rather than outright denial, the emotional stakes become enormous. This is not an abstract policy debate. For real people with real tickets already purchased, it is deeply personal. Now, this conversation did not emerge from nowhere. It was ignited by a specific and widely reported incident involving members of the Iraqi national team delegation, who reportedly faced questioning and significant entry difficulties upon arriving in the United States. According to reports circulating through football media, individuals connected to the delegation encountered complications at the border that went beyond routine inspection. The details, as reported, raised immediate questions about how international football personnel, and by extension ordinary fans, might be treated upon arrival. The story spread rapidly across supporter communities and sports news outlets worldwide, and almost instantly, it became more than just one isolated incident. It became a symbol of a much larger and more uncomfortable question that millions of fans were suddenly asking themselves. The Iraqi delegation incident did not stay quiet for long. Within days, it had spread across football forums, sports news outlets, and supporter communities on every continent. And the reason it resonated so deeply was not simply because of who was involved. It tapped into something that many international fans had already been quietly worrying about: existing anxieties around United States visa policies, concerns about how travelers from certain regions might be treated, and the symbolic weight of a World Cup that is supposed to welcome every nation suddenly felt very real. Football associations began asking questions publicly. Journalists started investigating. Supporters started sharing their own fears. The incident had opened something important: a broader and necessary debate about what international fans can realistically expect when they finally step off that plane and face a United States port of entry. Here is something many travelers do not realize until it is too late. Having a valid visa does not guarantee you will actually be allowed into the country. These are two completely separate things, and understanding the difference matters enormously. A visa is essentially permission to travel to the border and present yourself for entry. Think of it as an invitation to knock on the door. But the decision to actually open that door belongs entirely to border officials standing on the other side. Customs and Border Protection officers hold broad legal authority at every port of entry. They can question travelers, inspect documents, request additional information, and ultimately refuse entry based on their own assessment of the situation. This authority exists regardless of what your visa says. It is the law, and it applies to everyone arriving on United States soil. So what actually happens when you land at a U.S. airport as an international traveler? After stepping off the plane, you proceed to a Customs and Border Protection checkpoint. Officers verify your documents, scan your biometric data, including fingerprints and photographs, and may ask questions about your purpose of visit, travel history, and financial means. This process sounds straightforward, but officers hold significant discretionary authority. They can pull travelers aside for secondary inspection, request additional documentation, or ultimately deny entry entirely. For most visitors, the experience lasts only minutes. But for travelers from countries with complicated diplomatic relationships with the United States, the process can feel deeply uncertain and stressful, which raises a genuinely important question. Is this system actually equipped to handle the extraordinary volume of international arrivals expected during the 2026 World Cup? For many fans, these aren't abstract legal concepts. They're personal anxieties playing out in real time. In supporter communities across Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, conversations about traveling to the 2026 World Cup carry a weight that goes beyond typical trip planning. Fans from countries with historically complicated relationships with the United States, or those facing lengthy visa processing backlogs, are asking hard questions. Some who have already purchased tickets are genuinely uncertain whether they will complete the journey. Online forums are filled with stories of previous visa denials, border questioning experiences, and fears about being turned away after spending thousands. These concerns deserve to be heard honestly, not to spread alarm, but because real people with real dreams are navigating a system that offers no guarantees, regardless of how prepared or well-intentioned they are. For some supporters, the challenge isn't simply getting through airport security, it's getting permission to travel in the first place. And that has created one of the most controversial debates surrounding the 2026 World Cup. Several countries participating in the tournament have supporters who face significant travel restrictions when it comes to entering the United States. One of the most striking examples is Haiti. The Haitian national team qualified for its first World Cup since 1974, a historic moment for Haitian football and for millions of Haitians around the world. But many Haitian supporters may not be able to attend matches played in the United States because of travel restrictions currently affecting Haitian citizens. The situation has led to frustration among supporters who dreamed of witnessing Haiti's return to the biggest stage in football. Many fans have waited decades for this moment. Haiti is not the only country affected. Iran, another World Cup participant, has also faced travel restrictions that affect supporters hoping to attend matches in the United States. Reports indicate that while players and essential team personnel can receive exemptions to participate in the tournament, ordinary supporters face far greater obstacles. Partial restrictions have also affected supporters from countries such as Senegal and Ivory Coast, raising questions about how inclusive the tournament can truly be when some fans face barriers that others do not. Critics argue that football's greatest strength is its ability to bring people together across borders. Supporters counter that every nation has the right to enforce its own immigration policies and security requirements. The result is a debate that extends far beyond football. Can the world's most international sporting event feel truly global if some supporters cannot attend? For many fans, that question remains unanswered. And as the tournament approaches, it continues to be one of the most sensitive issues surrounding the 2026 World Cup. But here is where the picture becomes more balanced, because there are genuine reasons to feel cautiously hopeful. Major international sporting events generate enormous economic activity for host nations, and governments have a powerful incentive to welcome visitors rather than turn them away. The United States has successfully hosted events of massive international scale before, including the 1994 World Cup, which remains one of the most attended tournaments in history. FIFA has decades of experience negotiating fan access agreements with host governments, and those conversations are already underway for 2026. Tournament organizers have indicated that infrastructure for managing millions of international arrivals is actively being developed. Travel industry experts suggest that dedicated processing systems and coordination between agencies could significantly ease the experience. The situation is complex, but complexity does not automatically mean catastrophe. Beyond political concerns, there are straightforward logistical realities that every international fan needs to understand before booking anything. Visa processing times vary enormously depending on your nationality, your home country's consular infrastructure, and how many applications are being handled simultaneously. For fans traveling from parts of Africa, the Middle East, or South Asia, securing a United States visa can take several months, require extensive documentation, and still carry no guarantee of approval. And here is what makes this particularly difficult. Tournament schedules are fixed. Matches happen on specific dates. If your visa arrives late, there is no flexibility. Even fans with completely clean records and straightforward applications may face uncertainty simply because of administrative volume. This is not about suspicion or politics. It is simply the reality of how the system operates, and fans need to plan accordingly. It helps to take a step back and remember that travel anxiety before a World Cup is nothing new. Qatar 2022 sparked intense debate about cultural restrictions and fan conduct policies. Russia 2018 raised serious concerns about safety and political tensions between nations. Brazil 2014 faced widespread skepticism over infrastructure and civil unrest. South Africa 2010 had critics questioning whether the country could handle the logistical demands of the tournament at all. In every single case, the World Cup happened. Millions of fans made the journey, filled the stadiums, and created memories that lasted lifetimes. This historical pattern does not erase current concerns about 2026, but it does offer meaningful perspective. Panic rarely tells the full story. So what actually allowed those tournaments to succeed despite the noise? The answer usually comes down to a combination of factors working together at the right time. FIFA coordination with host governments created diplomatic frameworks that smoothed entry for most visitors. Host nations had strong economic incentives to welcome millions of spending tourists. And football culture itself carries a momentum that is genuinely difficult to stop. Fans showed up regardless of warnings, and institutions responded to that pressure. That said, not every fan had a seamless experience. Some genuine problems occurred, and some people were turned away or faced serious difficulties. The honest takeaway is that World Cups are rarely perfect operations. They succeed because preparation, determination, and cooperation tend to outweigh the obstacles. Understanding that balance matters enormously as 2026 approaches. Looking ahead, the stakes could not be higher for FIFA and the three host nations. A World Cup perceived as unwelcoming or inaccessible to certain fan communities would carry lasting consequences, not just for this tournament, but for the sport's global reputation for generations. What needs to go right is actually straightforward to identify, even if execution proves complex. Clear and consistent communication about entry requirements must reach fans early, in multiple languages, through trusted channels. Visa processes need to be streamlined wherever possible, with dedicated support structures for applicants from regions facing the longest delays. Border procedures must be applied fairly and consistently, without patterns that suggest certain nationalities face disproportionate scrutiny. And proactive outreach to supporter groups worldwide must begin now. These are solvable challenges, and solving them is entirely within reach. But stepping back even further, there is a deeper question worth sitting with. What does it actually mean for a global tournament to be truly global? The World Cup is not just a sporting competition. It is a statement about football belonging to every nation, every culture, every corner of the earth. That is the promise FIFA has built its identity around for decades. Yet the current reality of international travel, visa requirements, and border discretion creates a system where access is unequal by design. Some fans arrive with minimal friction. Others face months of uncertainty before even boarding a plane. This tension between the inclusive spirit of the tournament and the practical barriers that exist for millions of potential attendees is not a simple problem with a simple answer. It deserves honest, ongoing conversation from everyone invested in the sport. So, will fans be able to enter the United States for the 2026 FIFA World Cup? The honest answer is that the evidence strongly suggests the vast majority of supporters will travel successfully, clear customs without incident, and experience the tournament they have dreamed about for years. The infrastructure, the institutional momentum, and the global appetite for this event are all real. But so are the concerns raised throughout this documentary. The incidents, the anxieties, the visa delays, and the questions about border discretion are not invented. They reflect something the football community is right to examine honestly. A tournament that calls itself the world's game carries a responsibility to feel genuinely welcoming to the entire world. Share your thoughts, your travel plans, and your concerns in the comments below.